Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So, Tarek, and continuing the series on Analog in Your Pocket. Are you just happy to see me? And today we are going over the new Gauntlet cores, which were ported from MiSTer FPGA, giving you the arcade original Gauntlet, Gauntlet II, as well as Vindicators Part 2. These were ported over by Obsidian Dot Dev, and it's from original work by Alex over on the MiSTer FPGA side of things. And it is great that we have these open source cores that can be ported to other platforms, giving us even more games to play on the arcade side of things. Before you get too far involved, though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined to want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But Gauntlet is just old school Atari games hard. This is going to have both the 2-player and the 4-player variants in, so you can play with 3 other friends, and I can't recommend that enough with Gauntlet. The more players you have, the easier of a time you're going to have, and this game can be absolutely downright brutally hard within the first level. This game is not going to teach you anything. You're going to have to learn it, and you're going to have to understand the movement of every single enemy so that you can actually get a chance at seeing the credits scroll. But that's the fun in this. It is just that old school arcade hard difficulty. Now, if these are not on your Pocket, just go ahead and run Pocket Downloader, whatever updater you want, and they will come down with all of the files associated, and I'll show you how to change the cores in just a moment. But it's so great to get more arcade stuff on the Pocket. You'll see here, trust me, you need to learn how to kite the enemies in Gauntlet if you have any chance of survival. You want to use doorways basically as a choke point to protect yourself and to be able to mow down a lot of the scrub enemies with a little bit more ease. If you don't do this, you're going to die repeatedly and you're not going to have fun. Now, if you go into the arcade menu, you're going to see Gauntlet here. There's going to be 2 cores. That is not per individual game. That is because there is a core that's going to allow you to use the analogizer to get some CRT television output out of this thing. So if you do not want that, just make sure you run the Obsidian core, which will be selected by default. And if you want to know more about the analogizer or how to use it or whether or not it's worth it, I have a review that I will leave a link in the description below, because trust me, something like Gauntlet just looks that much better on a CRT television if you have one. Grab 3 friends, sit around your dock, output the video signal, and you will have an absolutely spectacular time. And do be aware this game comes with a lot of different level skips, and I do not recommend taking most of them until you learn the combat, because if you just go from level 1 to level 8, you're absolutely going to get decimated if you do not know what you are doing. But I love that we're getting these ports from the MiSTer FPGA side of things, and Obsidian Dot Dev seems to be one of the leading porters from MiSTer FPGA code, and I hope to see more of this in the future. Leave me a comment down below and tell me what one core from MiSTer FPGA would you like to see ported over to Analogue Pocket that's not here yet. I would be very curious. But Gauntlet is just one of those Hall of Fame level good games. There's so many different entries in the series, but it all got its start here. And just look at the amount of sprites that are being pushed around screen at once. All of those enemies, they're just a massive number. Obviously, it doesn't really have much to do on the hardware side of things with RAM, because it's just copying and pasting the same 2 or 3 enemy sprites over multiple times. But seeing this many enemies on screen in 1986 is a ton. And you will see here in the options, you can choose what character is going to be for player 1. The second game is going to give you that option within the game in and of itself, and you can remap your controls for whatever you want. So if you are playing the 4-player version, be aware that you can change the first playable character compared to something like the Simpsons arcade game where player 1 is always going to be locked to Marge. And again, this is just one of those titles that everyone absolutely remembers from back in the day. And if for some strange reason you've never played Gauntlet, it is such a good game to play on Analogue Pocket. It's perfect for a commute or like a good 30-minute sit down and play session. And again, like I said, remember, you gotta kite these enemies or you're going to die. But the fun part is every single coin is not so much a life, it's additional health on your health bar. So if you want to just pump 20 credits into this game at the beginning and see how far you can get on that life bar, it becomes fun as well. Now, when you're playing this game, be aware that it's working exactly as is expected, but if you don't have any music, that is because the original game didn't ship with any music either. At least within the actual levels. You're going to get musical jingles in between levels, you're going to get some nice speech for 1985, and you're going to get a lot of sound effects. But I'm going to give you a sound sample so you know what the core is supposed to be like, and I'll come back and show you more of the games that run on the core and why you should play them. But enjoy! So that is what Gauntlet sounds like, whether you're on Analogue Pocket, MiSTer FPGA, or real arcade hardware. But you also get Gauntlet II, which is a very fun sequel and a much less talked about game. So it's great to have all these games come over to Analogue Pocket, not just the original Gauntlet. And the nice part is on Gauntlet II, you can select the character you want to play as, whether you're playing the 1-player version of the game or the 4-player version of the game. So it does have some nice quality of life improvements. But honestly, this is just more of a good thing. Gauntlet II doesn't really add much on the mechanics side of things. It's just more levels to a game that absolutely nailed it in the arcades when it came out. And again, I definitely recommend not skipping levels in Gauntlet 2 because this game can definitely be harder right off the top. Just do the levels in the order in which they appear until you get very good at the game and then start skipping around levels. There are some new mechanics like these little stun lock blocks on the floor, but otherwise, if you love Gauntlet, you're going to love Gauntlet 2. If you're not a huge fan of the original Gauntlet, then the next sequel is not going to give you anything that's going to change your opinion on the game. But Obsidian Dot Dev has done an awesome job at porting these two games over to Analogue Pocket. They play exactly like they do on MiSTer FPGA, and that's down to Alex's original work getting these FPGA cores running, and it really is a team effort on so much of this stuff. People are porting cores from one platform to another, everything is open source, and that is why all of this stuff should be celebrated and always kept open source so people can enjoy the fruits of others' work further on down the line, because really we're all in this just to be able to play some games and have fun. And if you've never played a Gauntlet game, definitely pick a character that works for you. You'll see their saves are not supported in this core. Just pop that up before you ask me a question down below. For the most part, I don't think there's a single arcade core that actually allows for save states, but if you can think of one, do let me know down below. And in some levels on Gauntlet, the thing that you really want to do is just run like hell. Sometimes combat is not worth it whatsoever. The best thing is just to get out of the way of the enemies and move on. And do not shoot the health power-ups. They will just disappear from the screen entirely. So you do need to be a little bit careful of what you're doing. But again, this seems like a perfect port. All of the graphics are here. All of the control, all of the sound effects, and the speech are coming across just like they would on the real arcade board and just like they do on MiSTer FPGA. Now there's one more game within this set that I'll show you in just a moment, but honestly I think there's something going on with the controls because I cannot figure out any way to map anything, so I just don't drive around a circle in a tank. But I'll tell you what the name of that game is in just a moment. But this is my message to you: if you've never played the original Gauntlet or Gauntlet 2, definitely pick them up, check them out. They are a ton of fun. They're some of the best arcade games from the 80s. But let's move on to the last game in this 3-core set here, and it's going to be Vindicators Part 2. This is a tank game, but honestly I just seem to drive in a circle, so I'll show you what it looks like, and I will show you some of the sound as well, because this game, unlike Gauntlet and Gauntlet 2, does have music within the game itself, so you can get a sound sample. So go ahead and listen just for like 35 seconds, and I'll be right back with more games. Sounds really good and shows that this hardware does have music, but honestly I just keep driving around in a circle. So if you can think of any way to fix that, if you figured it out, leave me a comment down below. But honestly, in a 3-game core, Vindicators Part 2 would come in 3rd place whether or not I was spinning around in a circle, because Gauntlet and Gauntlet 2 are just generally that good of games. But that's the current situation. Grab your Analogue Pocket, update it with whatever program you want. It should bring down the cores as well as the files, and if you want to use a CRT television, just make sure you use that Analogizer core and you'll be good to go. And that is a hard word to say. I think I just got it wrong, but I don't really feel like going back and re-recording it. Wish the maker had given it a slightly easier name to say. But that's 3 more games on the arcade side of Analogue Pocket, and everyone should be happy about that. But short of that, we're done. I'll see you in the next video, but hope you enjoy and have a great weekend. Go play some games. Bye bye.